Hello, it's the Theater Weirdos here. We're gonna see Don't Breathe 2. Yeah! Have the sweatshirt even though it's over 90 degrees. They keep these theaters super cold, so I want to avoid being chilly.
He also wants to rock the boat owner look.
So this is gonna be a spoiler-free review. We are gonna spoil the first movie a little bit, but that's 5 years old. So if you haven't seen Don't Breathe, that's on you. It's been out for 5 years, but you haven't seen Don't Breathe.
No, I haven't. I think, especially around 2016, I was like very squeamish about horror films, so I usually don't like rush out to see them. And I was vaguely familiar with it. I knew it was something that Stephen Lang was doing, and I thought it funny because back in the 80s and 90s, the actor Stephen Lang played like the biggest nebbishy weasels, and then around the 2000s, he, I think, especially with Avatar, he became the go-to grizzled guy, which is like a huge reinvention for a character actor.
What are his 80s movies?
He was the tabloid reporter in Manhunter.
Okay.
And he was Ike Clanton in Tombstone.
Okay.
Which, if you ever seen Tombstone, he's the guy who's like always like, "Oh, we're gonna get you." Then Wyatt Earp would just take a step forward, like, "Oh, please don't hurt me." That was.
Yeah. So the first movie, he's a blind guy. People break into his house, and they want to steal his money. Even though he's blind, he's like a badass, and he fights them off. And then he does some really horrific things. One involving a turkey baster, which I don't want to get into really too much, but it's very gross. Anything we spoil from Don't Breathe 2 is gonna already be in the trailer, so just look at it that way. If you've seen the trailer, that's as far as the spoilers go. He's a good guy now, I guess, even though he did all those bad things. I guess with horror movies, you go to root for the bad guys sometimes anyways, so it's not that far of a stretch.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it's not like the people he killed in the first one were that like good people anyways, so I think like he was already kind of in anti-hero territory.
Mm-hmm.
Just like very, I guess, sounds like very graphic in his methods, but that makes him already more like a Punisher figure as it is, right?
So in the first movie, he kills some people, but he ends up getting away with it. And the girl who ends up living, she can't really tell on him, or else she'll incriminate herself. The trailer for Don't Breathe 2, it shows that he's with a young girl, so I'm assuming he adopted her, and then people come out of the woodwork to like expose him for who he is. And that's all we really need to say for now. Let's go watch the film. In promotional material of the first Don't Breathe, it says it's the best horror movie of the last 20 years. I wouldn't go that far, but I would say it's in the top 10 of the last 20 years, probably. So just got finished with the film strip. How did you feel about it there, Robert Bartlett?
Well, one thing I'm thinking, you know the Die Hard, what do you know about the Die Hard sequels? You know the thing about the Die Hard, about a couple of the Die Hard sequels?
What are you getting at? Just
that they weren't originally meant to be Die Hard sequels, that they were just some spec script that somebody wrote that they folded into the Die Hard universe.
Sure, okay.
I think, not having seen the first one, do you think that's a possibility?
Maybe, I don't know.
Because it seems like it was just like this sort of white trash gothic story, like a meth head Bronte sister thing that they just welded the character from Don't Breathe into.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. So you did bring up Die Hard. This movie has a lot of suspense. There's no monsters. What makes this a horror movie, but Die Hard not a horror movie?
Well, he called himself a monster, so they made sure to, which, even if it was a name only, they made sure to make it officially a monster movie, even if it was forced.
Yeah.
But I think it was I think it was gory enough to be a horror movie, and I think, like I said, it's very white trash gothic. So I think like it's sort of like almost like a decrepit, rundown haunted house kind of aesthetic.
Okay, all right. Would you recommend this movie to people?
I didn't like it. I did not really care about anybody in the movie. I thought it was like too gross, but also like too outlandish. And I know that's kind of what horror's thing is, but it was like too grimy and almost depressing, but also too ridiculous at the same time. And so I really kind of didn't feel anything but just a low negative kind of feeling.
Okay, so I like horror movies a lot more than this guy. I kind of agree with him, although I would recommend it if you like the first one. Like the first one I said is good, but not perfect, maybe an 8.5 out of 10. This one I thought was maybe a 7 out of 10. You don't have to see it, you can skip it, but if you think you'll like it, you'll probably go to it and enjoy yourself. About this movie, I thought it did a good job of not being about what you think it was going to be about.
I do too, but probably because I don't think they knew what they wanted it to be about. So they were sort of like putting the train tracks in front of the
I
train
think
as
you're
it was
being
going.
too harsh on it and not giving it enough credit. Excuse me, sir, you went to see the movie, right? I saw you in the theater. Person I've never met before who just happened to randomly be in the same theater.
Don't bring it too, yeah.
And did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I'm a huge horror fan.
So how would you compare it to the first one, let's say?
It's not as good as the first one, although there's probably more gore, and the body count is higher. The story is kind of difficult to believe, but I mean, a lot of horror fans don't.
Right. So like in these movies, he'll sometimes like touch things to know where he's going, but
Right.
he never like actually trips or drops anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to be a one-man army to begin with, to be a blind one-man army, even if you're an ex-SEAL, is a stretch. But you know, most horror movies are stretches. I'd call it more of like a horror thriller.
Yeah. So you would recommend people go see it?
If you're a horror fan, I think it's worthwhile.
So it is in the trailer that the guy has a dog, and maybe tiny bit, a little bit spoilery, but not really. So you can tell who's the hero and who's the villain, because the main guy, he's an animal lover as opposed to the.
Right, yeah, that was that for like, oh, I'm gonna slaughter, I'm gonna like, you know, just absolutely dismember people. But I love the poochies, and I get it, but it's like a little too on the nose with it.
Yeah.
It's also a redemption story.
Yeah.
Yeah, for what they did in the first movie.
Turkey basters have never been looked at the same since.
Oh boy.
Thanks for watching. We're the Theater Weirdos. Like and subscribe if you feel like it. It's helpful. Thanks. Oh, and as a bonus, we also saw Suicide Squad. I thought it was good. I only knew Harley Quinn. I didn't know any of the other characters. I didn't see the first Suicide Squad, but I did enjoy this movie, and I rank it as one of the better comic book movies. Well above like middle of the road comic book movie, not the absolute best. How did you feel?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. That was also gory, but I was able to withstand a little bit. It had the most disturbing scene, which I don't even know if it was the gore, but just like the sort of context of it was very disturbing.
Which was what part?
The laboratory scene.
Okay.
No, I felt like it was very heartfelt in a bizarre way, in a very bizarre, warped way. It was very heartfelt.
I thought it was funny. Really? Well, it's both heartfelt and fun.
Did you feel it was better than the first one?
I think the first one is one of the worst major blockbusters of the last 10 years. I really thought Suicide Squad was so bad. I felt the whole thing just existed as a prank to show how bad one of the actors was at dancing.
Which actor?
Cara Delevingne. Just, it was so terrible. It was kind of pointless. In the first Suicide Squad, there's a scene where one of the members of the Suicide Squad. The criminal, his name is El Diablo. He wears a tank top all the time. He has tattoos all over his face, and his wife just suddenly barges in and says, "You're a thief? I had no idea. I am so mad at you." And it was just the funniest fun thing. It's just, like, where did you think your house came from with your like husband who looks like a skeleton and has fire powers? How did you think you got that?
It wasn't a joke?
It wasn't a joke. No, it was serious. It was played dead serious.
She's like, "Oh my God, I found all this money. He must be a drug dealer or something like that." And he's got all the
Doesn't even say drug dealer, a thief.
It's
like who
he's
calls
got,
somebody
like, a woke
a
or
thief?
something tattooed across his throat? And it's like, really? You didn't see this?
And but like I said, the word thief, because like who calls somebody a thief in a fit of rage? And the whole. I also think like the thing of the Suicide Squad, it was supposed to be a down and dirty, like a Dirty Dozen type thing, but then they threw in magic and demons, which kind of threw the vibe off. Of course, in this, the vibe was weird because if you saw the trailers, you see they fight like a giant alien monster, but they're kind of leaning into how stupid it is. I think the movie is like purposely stupid, but that's what makes it enjoyable, because it doesn't have you're not sort of responsible for trying to suspend your disbelief, because it's like anything goes.
Cool. Hey, thanks. See ya.